Hello friends, welcome to this session. Just solved this NEET test 80. This is about 1 a.m. right now, and here I am with the analysis of the physics paper. So it was not as tough as the previous one that we talked about. This one is slightly on easier side, though some question require some rigorous calculations. So I can't say that easy questions were not that tough, but there were some questions that require some good calculations. That is what we can say. For one question, I suppose there is a mistake in the answer given by them, that is 14th question. As far as you can see, 3 are tough, 20 were easy and 22 were medium. So again, because it is slightly easier from the other two papers that we did in the day and day before, so what I feel is anyone decent in physics here again should get 135 score, and the students doing very good must get 160 plus score in this particular. So let's begin. The orbital frequency of an electron in the hydrogen atom is proportional to. So what you know, the orbital frequency, that is V upon 2 pi r. So that is proportional to V by r, and you know V is proportional to Z by n and r is proportional to n square by z. So we get F is proportional to Z square by n cube. So because it is hydrogen, Z is 1, so F is n to the power minus 3. You can directly go for it. Next, the second one. How many different wavelengths may be observed in the spectrum from an hydrogen sample if the atoms are excited to the third excited state? So the third excited state means n equal to 4. So now coming from n equal to 4 to n equal to 1, all possible transaction, you know the maximum lines that we can see is, that you all remember, is simply equals to what we write, that is n minus 1 by 2. So that would be 4 into, that is the n higher, you can say n higher into n higher minus 1 ground state, that is 4 into 3 by 2, so that comes out as 6. So maximum 6 lines can be seen here. Next, a rope thrown over a pulley has a ladder with a man of mass m on one of its end and a counterbalancing mass m on its other end. The man climbs with a velocity vr relative to the ladder, ignoring the masses of the pulley and the rope as well as friction on the axis. The velocity of the cm of the system is. So what would be the velocity of the center of mass of the system? Now, so what we are given, man has a mass m and a counterbalance has a mass capital M, that is given. So counterbalance has a mass capital M, that means you can say that mass of this ladder would be equals to that m minus m. So we have three entities here. Now the man is climbing with a velocity Vr relative to the ladder, ignoring the masses of the pulley and the rope. You have to find the VCM. So what we can make it out, let's say if I draw this diagram like this, this is the ladder attached to it, and let's say this is the person climbing, let's say with a velocity v relative. So what we can assume, let's say this is the counterbalance. So let's assume if it is going down with some velocity v, so it will be coming up with velocity v, so that v relative, so what I can say, that actual velocity of men would be, because both are opposite, would be v relative minus v upwards. That would be the actual velocity. So now you have this man velocity, you have ladder velocity going down, you have the counterbalance velocity going up. So first of all, what we can is do, the velocity of the center of mass of the system will be. So what would be the velocity of the center of mass of the system? If I am going to do, what I will write, VCM is m1 v1. So let's say men mass is m into Vr minus v, let's say taking upward direction is positive, and then we have that m minus m is the ladder mass that is going v downwards, so that would be minus v, and then m into v, that would be upwards for that counterbalance, and that whole divided by the total mass would be, we can say m plus m minus m plus small m, that is m plus m, that is going to be 2m. So if you do this, what we will have now, this will be minus mv, this will become plus mv, so this small mv cancel out, and this capital MV also cancel out. What we are left with mvr upon 2m. So that is the velocity of cm, and it is what we are getting, it is going up. So we'll go for option B here. So it's a nice question. Question number 3. Next, a particle A makes a perfectly elastic collision with another stationary particle B. They fly apart in opposite direction with equal velocities. The mass ratio will be, okay. So this is A and this is B. This was at rest. Now it was coming with velocity u. After the collision, it goes with v here, it goes with v here. So first of all, because it is elastic collision, applying the velocity of separation equals velocity of approach, I can directly say u would be equals to 2v. So V is equal to U by 2 for sure. Now how do you can solve it? So just apply the momentum conservation. What you will say, Ma into U is equal to Ma into V negative, that is minus U by 2, plus Mb into V, that is U by 2. So U get cancelled. So it would be, take here, this would be 3Ma by 2 equal to Mb by 2. So you have that Ma by Mb equal to 1 by 3. So we'll go for option A here. You can directly write it like Ma by Mb is 1 by 3. Now next, a particle moves with a velocity v in a circle of radius r. When the particle reaches from A to B as shown in figure, then y component of average velocity is. So it goes from, reaches from A to B, so it goes like this, A to B. What would be the y component of average velocity? So we know the definition of average velocity says displacement upon time taken. So displacement if I take, so we have to only find the y component, so that v average along y would be delta y by delta t, you can directly say. So what is delta y? If I make it out, it would be this delta y, and it would be definitely negative. So if I going to solve it, let's say this would be, this height you know is equal to r sine 30, this height again is r sine 30, so the displacement would be minus 2r sine 30 divided by time. Because it has gone for the half circle, it would be t by 2, t is 2 pi r by v, so it would be pi r by v. So what we get now, this r and r goes, this is minus 2v by pi, sine 30 is 1 by 2, so it is minus v by pi, that is the y component of the velocity. So this is option B here. So they're not a tough one, go by the basics. Next, at t equal to 0, horizontal disk starts rotating with an acceleration 1 radian per second square about an axis normal to plane passing through its center. Small block is lying on the disk at a distance 0.5 from the center. Coefficient of friction being 0.255, the block will start slipping at time t, which is approximately equal to, this is a nice question. So because it is a horizontal disk and it is rotating about this axis, and there is the block. So first of all, because it is having AC and AT both, because it is angular acceleration, so it will have AC here and AT will be here, both are horizontal, so the net acceleration will be provided by only friction. So static friction won't be acting along center, won't be acting along tangent, it would be somewhere in between, and Fs would be m into total A, which is going to be under root of AT square plus AC square. So at any time t, if I take omega would be equal to alpha t, that is 1 radian per second square into t, that will have like this. And what we can have, AC would be for omega square small r is the distance of that particle, and AT would be equals to what you call as alpha r, that is 1 into, let's say again small r. So Fs requirement would be m into under root of AT square plus AC square, that is omega to the power 4r square, plus this would be r square. Okay, 1 into r square, so I am taking it as 1, and that should be less than equal to mu s n, n would be equal to mg, this goes. So the slipping will start at what time? So what I can write, omega is 1 into t, so it will become t4 r square plus r square I am having should be less than equal to mu s square g square. So if you do this, t4 r square plus r square would be 1 by, with 4 we will have half square, that is 1 by 4 into t to the power 4 plus 1 I can take, that should be mu s square g square, and mu s is again not a nice value, 0.255 whole square into 10 square. So what we'll have in the limiting case, just equate it, so t to the power 4 plus 1 is equal to 4 into 100 into 0.255 whole square. So what we have, t to the power 4 would be equals to this 400 into 0.255 whole square minus 1. Now this is not a very good thing to calculate 0.255 whole square. I think there might be some error also, but let me do this. So this comes out as 0.065025, and if I multiply it by 400, it is 26.01, and this minus 1, this is approximately 25, so this is approximately 25, so t you will have 25 to the power 1 by 4, so it would be root 5, that is the closest one you will get, though calculation is not that easy, so again it would be quite tough for you to solve. So it would be root 5 seconds in this particular case. Next, in a galvanometer, what you given, 5% of the total current in the circuit passes through it. If the resistance of the galvanometer is G, shunt resistance S would be. So what you have, because it is in parallel, 5% means 0.05 of I naught into G, and because that is in parallel, that would be 0.95 into the I naught, that is going total current. 95% will go into shunt. So what we'll have the shunt value would be equals to 1 by 19 times G. So now next, in the circuit shown in the figure, reading of voltmeter is V1 when S1 is closed. Okay, when only S1 is closed, this one. So when only S1 is closed, we have 3R and 4R. So the reading would be, this would be divided. So I can say V1 would be equal to 3 by 4 of E, or V, what I should write, 3 by 4 of E, because it would be divided in 1:3. Next, it is V2 when only S2 is closed. So when only S2 is closed, it is 1:6. So V2 would be 6E by 7. You can directly divide. Okay. And now what you are left with, V3 when both are closed. When both are closed, it would be 6 and 3 in parallel, that is 2R. So 1 into 2. So V3 would be equals to, you can say, 2E by 3. So you can directly make out this is 0.75. This is definitely greater than 0.75, and this is definitely less than 0.75. So maximum is V1, not V1, maximum is V2 and minimum is V3. So what we'll have, we'll go for option B, V2 greater than V1 greater than V3. So not a tough one. Next, a thin semicircular conducting ring of radius R is falling with its plane vertical in a horizontal magnetic induction B. Okay. At the position M and Q, the speed of the ring is V, and the potential difference across the ring is. So what we can say, we do ignore the shape, we only remember this length. This length would be, what you can say, is 2R. So the induced EMF, you can directly say, would be equal to 2RV in this particular case. And if I take this as V cross B, if I do, this one would be positive, this would be negative, it would be like this. This would be that. So it would be 2RV into B, sorry, EMF is what we can say BVL, so B should be multiplied, so 2RBV, and Q is at higher potential, so go for option D. Next, transformer has 90% efficiency, turn ratio 10:1, primary is 220, current in the primary is 0.5, the current in the secondary is, so what you can directly say, power in secondary is 0.9 times power in primary. So what we have IS into VS is 0.9 times IP into VP. This is the first thing. So IS would be 0.9 times IP upon VP by VS, and VP by VS you all know is equal to NP by NS, and that ratio is what you have, 10:1. So you have 0.9 into IP, which is 0.5 into 10:1 you have. So what you will be left with, this is 0.45 into 10, that is 4.5 ampere. Go for option D. Next, hollow charged metal sphere has a radius R. If the potential difference between its surface and point at a distance 3R from the center is V, then the field intensity at distance 3R from the center is okay. So hollow charged metal sphere of radius R, this is the first point A, this is the second point, this is at 3R. Okay. So the potential, we have the potential difference. So what is V at A? V at A you know is KQ by R. V at B you all know would be KQ upon 3R. So that V that is given is equal to KQ 1 by R minus 1 by 3R, which comes out as, if you solve it, it is 2 KQ by 3R. Now the electric field at this point B at a distance 3R that you are talking about, you know, is KQ by R square, that is KQ upon 3R whole square. So that would be KQ upon 9R square. So what I can write, it is 1 upon 9R into KQ by R, and KQ by R can be written as 3V by 2. So it comes out as V by 6R. Go for option C here, just you have to manipulate the data. Next, shown in the figure, 2-point charges plus Q minus Q inside the cavity. They are near the surface of the cavity in opposite side. If sigma 1 be the surface charge on the inner surface of Q1, and Q1 is the net charge on it, okay, and sigma 2 be the surface charge on outer surface, and Q2 be the net charge on it, then now here it is plus Q, it is minus Q, so it's clear here there will be some negative charge, non-uniform, here will be some positive charge, but because since net charge is 0, the total Q1 on the inner surface is going to be 0. Though sigma 1 is not going to be 0, there will be charges induced, but the net induced is 0. And because this is settled here outside, there will be no charge induced, there will be no surface charge density, because outer surface charge density comes when there is an electric field from outside. So there is nothing outside, so sigma 2 will be 0 and Q2 is going to be 0. So it's a very conceptual question. It will option D. Just remember for these questions, the charges appearing on the inner side depends on what is inside, and the charges appearing on the outer side, the distribution will depend on what is outside. If there would have been net charge here, then Q2 will also would have been there, but because Q1 is 0 and there is no external field, Q2 will also be 0 and sigma 2 will also be 0. So it's a nice question, you must have done it. It's a question asked previously in some examination. Now the gravitational field is 5 plus 12J. Change in the gravitational potential of mass 2 kg when it is taken from origin to this point. So you see this field is uniform, so what we can say, the change in potential energy delta U is equal to minus of the work done by the gravitational field. So what is the work done by field? Work done by field, you can write it as m into E dot, you can directly write that is, so m into E, mass is 2 kg, that is 10 I cap plus 24 J cap, dot displacement would be 7 I cap minus 3 J cap. So if I solve it, it will be 70 and this would be minus 72, so it is minus 2 joules. So the change here would be equals to, what I can write, that would be equals to plus 2 joule here. So that is going to be plus 2 joule here, so it is going to be option C here. Okay, next. Assuming Earth to be a sphere of radius r, if g is the value of acceleration due to gravity at the latitude of 30 degree and g at equator, the value of g minus g prime will be. Okay, so what we have at equator, we will write, this is given as what you have given, it is g, that g would be equal to g at surface, that we typically write g naught minus omega square r, and that g dash at the latitude of 30 would be g naught minus omega square r cos square 30, if you remember. So cos square 30 is 3 by 4, that is g naught minus 3 by 4 omega square r. So if I do that, g minus g dash, it would be come out as minus 1 by 4 omega square r. It would be minus 1 by 4 omega square r. So the value would be, it is just asking for magnitude I suppose, because it would have given negative sign then. So the value at the equator, g minus g dash, it would be 1 by 5 omega square. I think they have given answer assuming g it as poles, not at equator. At equator it should be minus 1 by 4 omega square r. So I'll go for option A, not for B, which they have given. Next. If the wavelength of maximum intensity of radiation emitted by sun and moon are this, the ratio of the temperature is, again Wien's law, this is coming again and again, you know lambda mt is constant, so directly you can say T of sun to T of moon would be ratio inverse would be 10 to the power minus 4 upon I can write it as 5 into 10 to the power minus 7, so what you have, 10 to the power 3 by 5, that is 200:1, so we'll go for option C here. This is the answer that we are getting. Next. You have an inverted well lying at the bottom of lake 47.6 meter deep, have 50 centimeter of air cube of air trapped in it. The well is brought to the surface of the lake, then the volume of the trapped air will become. So when it is brought to the surface, the pressure you say will be decreased, so the volume is definitely going to be increased. Now pressure at top is P naught, which you write as rho hg into g into 70 centimeter. And the pressure at the bottom, if I take, would be P naught plus rho of water into g into 47.6, that is 4760 if I do in centimeters. So I can write it as rho hg into g into 70 plus rho w can be written as rho hg upon 13.6 into g into 4760. And if you do this 13.6 and this division, what you will have, this is rho hg into g into 70, and this comes out as rho hg into g 13.6. if I start, double would be 26.2 and triple would be 40.8, so it would be 3 and 30 point, what we had 40.8, sorry, so that what we are left with 6.2 or you will have it 62.6. so it basically, if you simplify it, it basically comes out as 350. Okay. I have just calculated it, is comes out as 350. That means if this is P naught, this is 5 times of P naught, so this is 6 P naught. That means the pressure at the bottom was 6 times P naught, and when it comes, the pressure has become 1/6, so volume will become 6 times, that will become 300 centimeter cube. You can directly go for it. So just remember this factor and you can solve. Next, 143 calories of heat energy are supplied to the gas. Internal energy rises by 500 if the pressure remains constant, and this the change in the volume is. So pressure is constant, what we have, work done would be P delta P, you know, and that is equal to 143 into 4.2, I can do minus 500 So this would be what we have. 42 3s if I do, it would be 126. 42 4s is 168 and 12, that is 178. 42 1s are 42 and 17, 5986. So 598.6 upon 500, that is 98.6. So delta V would be 98.6 upon 10 to the power 5. So approximately it will be 10 to the power minus 3 meter cube, which you call it 1 liter. So it would be 1 liter approximately. You can go for it. Next, bar magnet coercivity is given. It is desired to demagnetize by inserting into a solenoid 12 cm long having 60 turns. The current that should be sent is, so coercivity is given. So what you say, this is Hc, and that you know is equal to, but that basically coercivity is given by N into I. And basically what you have, N is the number of turns per unit length. So what you have, 60 upon 0.12 into I, that should be equal to 4 into 10 to the power 3. So I would be 4 into 0.12 into 1000 upon 60. So this is 10 and 20, let's say it becomes 12. So it is 48 by 6, which is 8 ampere. That is what we are going to get here. So 8 ampere should be the current that should be flown through the solenoid to demagnetize that. Next one. A U-shaped conducting frame is fixed in space. Conducting rod CD lies at rest on the smooth frame. The frame is in uniform magnetic field B0, which is normal to the plane of the frame. At t equal to 0, magnitude of the magnetic field begins to change, okay, where k is a positive constant. For no current to be ever induced in the frame, the speed with which the rod should be pulled starting from t equal to 0 is, okay, the should be velocity lies in the plane of the frame and perpendicular to the rod CD. Okay, so it's a very nicely designed one. So first of all, what we have, because the field increases, though what we'll have, the flux will also, the field decreases, sorry, so the flux will decrease, so you have to increase that area. So what you need basically that the flux should remain constant. So your aim should be that the flux should remain constant. So let's say at any moment when it has come by a distance x here, so the flux that would be, I can write it as B into x, and that B is B0 1 plus kt into B into x. Okay, so this is what we get. This is the flux that we are here. So this is the flux. Now what is velocity? Velocity, you can always write it as dx by dt, and what you know, this flux should remain constant. So this flux should remain constant. That means what we get here from this above equation, I can make x upon 1 plus kt must be a constant. So x is some, let's say, constant. I can write c into 1 plus kt. So what is dx by dt? Dx by dt would be some constant that we have, like what we had this constant as c into k. It would be some constant into k, and this constant is what we can have. And this is the flux which should remain constant. What we can say, this is constant is flux, and this flux you can make it from the initial one, which is B0 AB. You can write it is B0 AB. You can write, so x upon 1 plus kt, so that B0 AB, or you can say, just do it carefully. I have just equated some wrong things. This is like this, and this should remain a constant. So, and this flux, you know, if I write B0 upon 1 plus kt bx, the initial flux is B0 into AB that I was talking about. So B0 B cancel, so x is A, this C is basically A, so it would be AK. So go for option A. So be careful, I just ignored that, and that the answer was in this terms. So it's a very nicely designed question. Next, a magnetic needle free to rotate in a horizontal plane is placed at the center of a circular current carrying coil whose axis is normal to the magnetic meridian at that place. Okay, axis is normal to the magnetic meridian, that means the coil lies in the magnetic meridian. It is also known that the magnetic declination at this place is 0, and at this condition the magnetic needle is pointing towards the northwest. Now if we reverse the direction of current in the coil, the magnetic needle will. Okay, so it is free to rotate in a horizontal plane, and it is placed at the center of a circular current carrying coil whose axis is perpendicular to the magnetic meridian. That means, let's say this is the magnetic meridian, so this coil is placed like this, and this is the axis which is normal to this. So it is carrying some current, and what we have, needle is free to rotate in a horizontal plane. It is free to rotate in a horizontal plane. That means only the horizontal component, this one will be effective. What would be the horizontal component? Let's say call it BH. Now that BH you don't normally know points towards north. Now the magnetic needle is pointing northwest. That means the current, the magnetic field which is created by the current should point towards west. This should point towards west. That means, let's say if I say this is the current, so this direction should be the west. This direction should be west here. Now if we reverse the direction of current in the coil, its field would be towards east and magnitude will remain same. Northwest means north and west both components were same, that was equal to BH. So instead of northwest, it will now point towards northeast. So it's not tough one, you just a conceptual one you can go for. Next, the xt graph or the position time graph for two children A and B returning from their school O to their home P, okay, and Q respectively along a straight path is as shown. Choose the incorrect one. A lives closer, so what we can say, A definitely lives closer to the school, that is okay. A starts from school earlier, yes. A and B have equal average velocities from 0 to t naught. So what I can make out, the average velocities from 0 to t naught. So both have covered different distances, different displacement time is same, so this is definitely going to be wrong. So C option is wrong, definitely B has traveled more, so B's average velocity would be greater than that of A. And B overtakes A on the way, so B overtakes A on the way, that looks false because A has reached okay, B overtakes A on the way, yes, that is correct, B has overtaken it at this point, so this is correct, only C is false. Next, two trains goes in the same direction along parallel track. One is 200 meter long, traveling with speed 20, second is 800 meter long, traveling with speed 7.5. Time taken for the first train to overtake the second. So to overtake, we know it has to travel relatively 800 plus 200,000 meters and the relative speed is 12.5 meter per second. So the time would be 1000 upon 12.5. That will be, you can say, that is 80 seconds. You can directly go for option D. Time taken will be 80 seconds in this case. Next, bullet of 20 gram, initial speed 1, just starts, before it starts penetrating a mud wall of 20 centimeter thickness, if it offers a mean resistive force of this, speed of bullet after emerging is. So what we can say, work done would be F into D negative, and that is equal to delta K, that is half mv square minus u square. So minus 2.5 into 10 to the power minus 2 into 0.2, that would be half into 20 into 10 to the power minus 3 into v square minus 1. So what we are left with, so this is 10 to the power minus 2 minus 3, if I make it, this is 2.5 into 0.2 will basically be 0.5. So minus 0.5 into 10 to the power minus 2, and I can write this as 10 into 10 to the power minus 3 into v square minus 1. So this is also 10 to the power minus 2. So v square will come out as, what I can make out, v square will be, what it is, it will be coming out as 1 minus 0.5, that is 0.5, sorry. So v would be equals to root of half. So root of 1 by 2, root of 0.5, root of 0.5, if you can make it out, root of 0.5 would be closer to 0.7 meter per second. So go for option A. Next, in the figure, two identical particles of mass m are tied together with an inextensible massless string. This is pulled at the center with a constant force F. The whole system lies on a smooth horizontal plane. The acceleration of each particle towards each other at the instant shown is. So if you have applied this force like this, this would be the tensions created. And what I can say, because it is massless, I will say F is equal to 2t cos theta. So T would be equal to F upon 2 cos theta, that is 2 cos theta is root 3 by 2, that is F by root 3. So tension generated is F by root 3 Newton here. Now this tension acts here, so it would be accelerated here, it would be accelerated here, so acceleration of each would be that T by m. Okay, now the one of the acceleration is like this, one of the acceleration is like this, so the acceleration of one with respect to other, so with respect to other, or you can say towards each other, so towards each other would be this component, and if this component I will take, this will 30 degree, this is a sin 30, a sin 30, it would be 2a sin 30, so it would be 2a sin 30, that is 2 T by m into sin 30, sin 30 is 1 by 2, so it goes, it is T by m means F upon root 3m. So what we are getting, F upon root 3m. So what we the result that I am getting is, this is 2a sin 30, that was okay, so it is F by root 3. Okay, but it doesn't ask for the relative one, it has just asked for the 1. So for the 1 it would be, it won't be 2, it would be a sin 30, so well I'll have that f upon 2 root 3m. So option B would be there. I read it as the relative one. So 1 towards other would be half of that, that is f upon 2 root 3m. You can make it out. But again a nice question. Next. Half-life of a radioactive element A and B are 20 and 40. Initially the sample have equal number of nuclei. After 80 minutes the ratio of decayed number of A to B will be. So initially both have same A and B. Let's say at t equal to 0 it was n naught, it was n naught. Now at 80 minutes, 80 means 4t half, so it will be n naught by 16. For it 2t half, that is n naught by 4. So the decayed number, this decay is 15 by 16 of n naught, and this decay is 3 n naught by 4. So if I take that ratio, it would be 15 by 16 upon 3 by 4, that is 15 into 4 upon 3 into 16. So that is 4, that is 5, that is 5 by 4. Go for option B. In this particular case, it is 5:4. Next. 3 alpha particles combine to form a 12C nucleus. The mass defect is, okay, so we know its mass is exact value, that is the definition, and this one is 3 times 9, 0, 18, 7, 0, 0, 12. So you have this mass defect 0.007809 U. So again an easy one, testing your basic concepts. So it would be option A. Next. 2 identical springs are connected in series and parallel as shown in figure. Fs, Fp are frequencies of arrangement. That what is Fs by Fp. So again it is not that tough one. You know time period is, let me write it, time period is 2 pi root of m by k equivalent. So F would be proportional to root of k equivalent, that is for sure. So Fs by Fp would be equals to root of k in series to root of k in parallel. Now in parallel, you know Kp would be k plus k, that is 2k. In k series you will say inverse, so it becomes k by 2. So it would be 1 by 4 root, that is 1 by 2. So Fs by Fp, you can directly go for 1 by 2. So again that's an easy one, basic combination question. Next. For 2 simple pendulum, first has bob mass m1 and length L1, second has mass m2 and L2. Given both masses and lengths relation, if the vibrational energy of both are same, which of the following is correct? So vibrational energy is same. So that vibrational energy basically you will write it a half m omega square theta naught square. That is what you will write. Half m omega square, x square you can write, or theta square, or better you write it as half m omega square a square. I should write half m omega square a square. That is what we generally write. Now masses are same. Now omega you know is equal to, here it is equal to root of g by L. So omega's ratio would be different. So what we have, omega 1 square a1 square would be equal to omega 2 square a2 square. So which of the following is correct? So what we have, length is greater for L1, length is greater for L1, that for omega 1 is smaller, that means a1 is greater, so amplitude of a is smaller, no, is not smaller, it is greater than b. So what we have, we will go for amplitude of a is greater, that means amplitude of b is smaller than that of a. So go for option A in this particular case, because for a omega is less, so a would be greater. Next. Electron with de Broglie wavelength lambda falls on the target in an X-ray tube. The cutoff wavelength is, what we know cutoff wavelength is lambda minimum is what we can directly say hc upon energy coming of the electron, and the energy coming of electron you directly write it as root 2 mk, and k energy is kinetic energy, so what we can say, energy is equal to p square by 2m, and p square would be equal to, here h by lambda, p is h by lambda, so that is h square upon 2m lambda square. So if I do this, what I will have, hc upon h square, that would be 2m lambda square. So it would be, you can make it out, 2m lambda is square c by h. So it is option A. Again this is a very common question generally given in the institute sheets. Kinetic energy of the most energetic photoelectron emitted from the metallic surface is doubled when wavelength reduced from lambda 1 to lambda 2. Okay, so kinetic energy doubled. So in the first case k1 was equal to hc by lambda 1 minus phi. In the second it is doubled, that is 2k1 is hc by lambda 2 minus phi. So better take the ratio 1 by 2, that is hc by lambda 1 minus phi upon hc by lambda 2 minus phi. So what we have, hc by lambda 2 minus phi is 2hc by lambda 1 minus 2 phi. So here it is phi, hc common, 1 upon lambda 2 minus 2 upon lambda 1. This is the result that we are getting. So it would be what we have, 5 would be hc into lambda 1 minus 2 lambda 2 upon lambda 1 lambda 2. This is what we will get. So the result that I am going to get is, if I am right, let me check. Okay, this 5 will come here, so I have written this wrong. So it would be minus, it would be minus and it would be plus. Okay, so it would be like that. So the option that we are getting would be option A, that is the appropriate one. Okay, next one. You have 8,000 identical water droplets combined to form a bigger one. Then the ratio of the final to the initial energy is, you directly know it is a n to the power 1 by 3 types ratio. So it would be 20, 1:20. You can directly go. Otherwise, what you will write, U initial was S into 4 pi r square. Final would be n into S into 4 pi. Let's say I should write it as, initial was 8,000, sorry. So that is, let me wait. Initial was n into S into 4 pi r square, and final would be S into 4 pi into capital R square, and you know 4 by 3 pi r cube is equal to n into 4 by 3 pi small r cube from conservation of mass. So r is n to the power 1 by 3 times small r. So that would be n to the power 2 by 3 into S into 4 pi r square. So if you take the ratio, this ratio of U initial to U final comes out as n ki power 1 by 3 is to 1. Now it is asking final to initial, that is 1 upon n to the power 1 by 3, that would be 1 upon 20, that I have directly written. Now adiabatic modulus of elasticity of gas is this. What would be the isothermal modulus? So you know adiabatic bulk modulus in adiabatic process is gamma p, and in isothermal process you know is equal to p. So what would be the isothermal if you do, so what we have, 2.1 into 10 to the power 5 upon B isothermal would be equal to gamma, which is 1.4. So B isothermal would be, you can make out 1.5 into 10 to the power 5. So we will go for option C here. So again an easy one, that's the thing you remember. Next, the plane faces of two identical plano-convex lenses of focal length f are pressed against each other using an optical glue to form a usual convex lens. So you definitely remember, if you have a lens like this and if it has a focal length f and you divide it into this has a focal length 2f. So here 2f was given as f. So finally when this lens will come here it is f, so it will come out as f by 2. Okay. The distance from the optical center at which an object must be placed to obtain the image same as the size of the object. So same size, that means at 2f, that 2f here means f by 2's double, that would be equal to f. So it's an easy one. Next, it is found that the EM radii signals sent from A towards B reach point C. The speed of EM signals in glass cannot be. So that means they reach, that means this is happening TIR. This is TIR is happening, the speed of electromagnetic signals in glass cannot be. So you can easily make out here what you will have, this angle is 90, both are equal, so it is 45 degree. So what we have, sine 45 degree is definitely greater than sine of theta c, so that is greater than 1 upon n of glass. So it is 1 upon root 2, so n of glass is greater than root 2. So what we can say, the speed in glass we write as c upon n of glass, that is 3 into 10 to the power 8, because n is greater than root 2, so this speed has to be less than this one. So it has to be, you can say, would be less than this root 2. So 3 by root 2, that is 3 upon 1.4 into 10 to the power 8. So it basically comes out as 2 point something into 10 to the power 8. So it should be less than that. So it cannot be, what it cannot be, it can be 1 into 10 to the power 8. It could be 2 into 10 to the power 7. It could be 4 into 10 to the power 7. It would be, let's say, let me solve it completely. It is 2. And what we are left with, 20 would be 1, left with 60, so 2.14 something it is coming. So yes, it cannot be the option. So B cannot be the particular option in this particular case. Now, thin circular disc is in xy plane. Okay, as shown in figure, the ratio of mi about z and z dash axis is, okay, about z is, it is the normal axis, so I about z would be, you know, is mr square by 2. And I about z dash, you apply the parallel axis theorem, mr square by 2 plus mr square, that is 3 by 2 mr square. So you have that ratio as 1:3. Go for option C. Again a simple application of these theorems. Next, two fixed frictionless inclined planes make an angle 30 and 60 with the vertical. Okay, this is 30, this is 60. Two blocks are placed on the two planes. What is the relative acceleration of A with respect to B? Now this is a nice one. So its acceleration would be, in general I can write, would be g sine theta here. So what should be I write? I'll do the general solution, and because it is frictionless, it would be g sine theta like this here. So if I make it, this angle would be theta, so acceleration would be g sine theta cos theta, let it be x and let it be y, I cap plus g sine square theta j cap I can write. So what we have, acceleration of A, I'll write as A is on 60 degrees, so that would be g sine 60 cos 60, that would be root 3 by 4 I cap, and it would be sine 60, that is 3 by 4 j cap. Similarly for B, this would be sine 30 cos 30, again this would be root 3 by 4 I cap, and this would be what I can write, it would be what we'll have, g into 1 by 4 j cap. So if I take the relative acceleration, it would be g by 2, you can say, because this will cancel out, 3 by 4 g minus g by 4, that would be g by 2, that is 4.9 in vertical. So go for the option B, 4.9 in the vertical. Next one, in the figure, potential difference between A and B. Let me check the figure between A and B. Okay, so this is forward bias, so this is in parallel, so 10 and 10 is what we have as 5. So this is 10, 2 is to 1, so it will have two-third drop, that is 20 volt, and this will have 10 volt. So you can directly go for 10 volt, and this question has come probably in NEET or JEE Main. I have done this some days back. Now the combination of gates shown is, so it is a standard one, this is NAND, 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 so I remember this is OR gate, but how you will do this? Let's take 0, 0, this will be 1, 1, 1 and 1, and will give 1, so it will give 0, so 0, 0 is 0. Now take it as 0 and 1. So if I take it at 0 and 1, this will be 0, 1 and 0, and will give 0, so this will give 1. So 0, 1 is 1, similarly 1, 0 is 1, next one 1, 1, 1 will give 0, 0, then again it would be 1, so it's an OR gate, go for it. Next, the coefficient of linear expansions of brass and steel are alpha 1, alpha 2. When we take a brass rod at L1 and steel rod at L2 at 0, then difference will remain same. Difference will remain same if delta L1 is delta L2, which you directly write as alpha 1 L1 delta T would be equals to alpha 2 L2 delta T. So alpha 1 L1 equals to alpha 2 L2. That's a very standard one, and this has been asked in NTA test, I think twice or thrice till now. Next, the quantities A and B are related by the relation M is A by B, where M is the linear density and A is the force. The dimension of B is, okay, so A is the linear density, that means linear mass density. So this will have a unit, or you can say it is mass per unit length. This A is force, that is mLT minus 2. What is the dimension of B? So dimension of B, definitely cancel, it would be L2T minus 2. L2T minus 2 is not of pressure, it is not of work, it would be none of the above, is generally not. It would be latent heat. Let me check latent heat. What do you write as? Q by M, that is mL2T minus 2 upon M. Yes, it is latent heat, so go for option C. Next, in the given region of 10 fringes are observed in the reflected beam from a thin film. If the wavelength of the incident light is changed from this to this, the number of fringes will be. So what we can say, the number of fringes will be inverse to the fringe width, and you know that fringe width, you remember fringe width you know is proportional to lambda. So if you increase lambda, fringes will decrease. You can directly say it is inverse. So what you can say, 10 into 4200 would be equal to nu n into 6000. So the new number would be 10 into 4200 upon 6000. So this is 7, this is 10, so 10 goes, it would be 7. So go for option B, or you generally write n1 lambda 1 equal to n2 lambda 2. That is what I have written. Next, light propagates 2 centimeter distance in a glass of refractive index 1.5 in time t naught. Okay, in the same time t naught, light propagates a distance of 2.25 in a medium, so its refractive index would be lesser. It would be lesser than 1.5, so it cannot be the option. Lesser than 1.5, so it cannot be the option. So option 1 is 4 by 3, but let me try. So what we have, the refractive index or the speed v1 you can write as 2 upon t naught. In the second, the speed you can write as 2.25 upon t naught. So what we have, v1 upon v2 comes out as 8 by 9, and that you can write would be equal to n2 by n1. So n2 would be 8 by 9 times n1, which is 3 by 2. So it comes out as 4 by 4 by 3. Yes, therefore option A is the most appropriate one. Next, in the experiment for the determination of the sound speed using resonance column with the tuning fork is resonates in with 0.1 meter. When this length is changed to 0.35, it is first overtone. What is the end correction? You directly remember end correction is L2 minus 3 L1 by 2. Just remember this result. So it would be 0.05 by 2, that is 0.025 meter. Straight away, this is your experimental basis. You should remember this. Two waves of wavelength this and this produce 10 beats in 3 seconds. What is the velocity of the wave? So 10 beats in 3 seconds, that means the beat frequency you can write is as 10 beats in 3 seconds, that is 10 by 3 hertz. So that is the difference of them. And what is the difference frequency? What you write as C by V. So that would be, or V by lambda. So V by 1 minus V upon 1.01 is 10 by 3. So what you have, V 0.01 upon 1.01 is equal to 10 by 3. So V comes out as 10 into what I can write 1.01 upon 0.1 into 3, that is 10 into 10.1 by 3. So 100 by 3 basically what we are getting. 0.01, okay, this is a mistake I'm doing. It is 0.01, so it would be 101 into 10 by 3. So that you can say right as 1010 by 3, that is 336.6 meter per second would be the answer. Next, last one. Machine gun fires 240 bullets per minute, so I can make it in a second, it is 4. Okay, divide by 60. If the mass of each is 10 and velocity is this. Now power of gun, basically in one, what is the work done in 1 second? I can say 4 bullets are fired. Each has a mass 10 into 10 to the power minus 3 into V square, that is 600 into 600. So the work done per unit time, W by T, that is basically power you say. So that comes out as 2, 6 into 6, 36 into 2, that is 72, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1 into 10 to the power minus 3. So 3 goes 1, 2, 3. So what I am getting, this is 7.2 kilowatt. I can directly go for option D in this particular case. So option D is the correct one. So this was today's paper. Keep watching, keep subscribing, keep sharing the channel. Thank you.